What is the worst second-hand embarrassment you've had to suffer through? I was in a class with about 50 other people when this really quiet guy stood up and started to play Gangnam Style out of his phone and started doing the dance with a wide grin on his face. Nobody laughed, and so he sat down after about 10 seconds of singing and dancing, and the lecture proceeded to carry on with lecture. I never thought this possible, but I am experiencing third-hand embarrassment. In middle school, a kid decided to don his karate wear and break a brick for the talent show. This intense music starts playing, and he comes out, bows his head and, "Here, it's the brick." It doesn't break. Tries a couple more times. It remains unperturbed. He stomps off the stage in tears. I'm sure to console him, people told him no one will remember this is 10 years. It's been more than 10 years. I still remember him as the kid who couldn't break the brick. Stuck on a cruise ship for 3 days after my friend proposed to his girlfriend on the first day, and she said no. That same first night she made out with some random guy in the hot tub. I'm honestly not sure how devastated my friend actually was, but it was intensified by the fact that he'd drink himself shit-faced daily by approximately 2 p.m., which would lead to him going to beg her to get back with him. At one point, she was sitting on the new guy's lap at the bar, and he grabbed her hand and confessed his love for her for what must have been the 5th time in days. It was a constant battle of trying to pull him away and convince him to either go to sleep or come with us to another part of the ship. He is a good friend, so I felt terrible for him cause that was super on her part and tried to help him all he would allow. But it was awful to watch, and by the end of the cruise, the entire boat, it seemed like, knew what had happened. When I tried to bring it up with my girlfriend, who was on the cruise with me as well, days after we got home, she straight up refused to talk about it, saying that was painful enough at the time, so we never need to speak of it. Have this uncle who is extremely cheap and once took us out to dinner. After he got the bill, he asks for the menu again and takes out his calculator and starts double checking the bill prices and menu prices. This goes on for 15 minutes while the waiter patiently waits next to the table. At the end, he realizes he forgot his wallet and asks us to pay. Don't think I've ever tipped that generously. Airline pilot here. The captain and I had a guy from another airline riding in the jump seat between us in the cockpit of AS airline jet. The captain was a bit of a blowhard loudmouth and decided to make a comment when he saw an Air India plane. You know what I hate most about Indian women is that big red dot on their forehead. The jump seater said, "My wife is Indian," and produced a photo from his wallet of his family, including his Indian wife with the bindi on her forehead. The captain only made it worse while he squirmed by asking some like, "Is she from Eastern India or Southern India?" Because I'm referring to the ones from. My mind was cringing so horribly I blanked out on the rest of the conversation. Recently went to a wedding where the groom had 5 or 6 different groomsmen, and they all gave a speech. First few were pretty good and funny. The last guy that went tried way too hard to make it funny. He started off with some lame cliche joke about how the bachelor party was crazy and that they'd never talk about it again. He actually paused and waited for laughter, and not a single person laughed out of over 150. Then his hands started shaking and he kept losing his place. I think he eventually gave up after about 2 minutes of torture and just said to the bride and groom, "It was horrific." When I was in the 7th grade in Texas history class, we had an in-class assignment in groups of 3 that required us to read a passage from the text book and then summarize it in a skit for the class. I was grouped with a good friend who we can call Karen and a girl who was known for being really socially awkward who we will call Janice. Janice was that type of socially awkward that tried really, really hard to be cool, but failed miserably while wearing a Naruto headband every single day. Our passage was about cattle herding, and for some reason, Janice got it into her head that it would be hilarious to hum the Star Wars theme song. But instead of regular humming "Moo It," she wanted to moo the Star Wars theme song at the end of the skit. She tried to convince us, but Karen and I did not want to get destroyed by our classmates, so we refused. When it was our turn, we completed our skit and started to sit back down, and Janice looks at us and screams, "Please." And we both just shook our heads. She burst into tears and explained that she wanted to do something cool for the performance, but we refused. So could she please do it on her own? The teacher told her to go ahead. Janice, still sobbing, stood in front of the class and mooed the entire Star Wars theme song. But the tune was unrecognizable since she was sniffing and gasping in between moos. So we all just kind of sat there for a solid 5 minutes, watching this girl in a Naruto headband ball and moo. Was at a friend's brother's 21st and was standing around talking with some other guys. On the driveway, a bunch of girls were dancing to the music. It was a really chill night, but it was about to get a lot chillier. The guy next to me said to the guy on his other side, "How about the rack on that blonde chick?" Other guy replied, "That's my daughter." First guy mumbled something and left at a brisk walk. My sister was on a first date with some guy she met online and was nervous, so she had my so and me meet up with them. The guy was super braggy about being able to speak German, not knowing that my so was raised there and speaks it fluently. So my so tries to start a conversation with him in German. The guy apparently only spoke a few words of German and left embarrassed and without any chance of a second date. My so still feels a little guilty about it. Watching a friend be punished by their parents. It's so awkward. I have a friend, Jake, who is partially deaf. He has hearing aids to help with that. We're cameramen and we were live streaming a college basketball game. We wear headsets to speak through the crowd and he has to take his hearing aids out to use it. He and I were taking a break during halftime and an old man who had a bag of candy, already weird, right? Walked up to us and offered it to Jake, who still had his hearing aids out. Jake accepts this as the man giving us a bag of candy, when in reality he just offered a piece to each of us. Yep, plenty weird. Jake just walked off with the candy bag, munching away, as the old man helplessly tried to follow him through the crowd yelling, "No, I just meant take one." Jesus Christ. It was uncomfortable in so many ways. I just walked away from the situation. I was on a train going between London and Manchester and went to use the bathroom. The toilet at the end of the carriage was disabled accessible, so it had a wide curved door that automatically opened at a steady and slow pace, about 20 to 30 seconds to complete, and uninterruptible, retracting in a semicircle to allow wheelchair access to the carriage. If you've traveled on these trains before, you'll know that to close the door you enter the stall. Push a button to close the door, then when it's finished closing you press another to lock it. Someone had not told this to the lady in the loo. Just as I arrived, another person coming from the other direction pushed the outside button to open the door and it started its inevitable arc. For at least 30 excruciating seconds, the button pusher, myself, and eventually everyone sitting in the packed commuter carriage beyond who was facing in our direction got to see the woman bend up from the seat, reach and hop to the other side of the cubicle and desperately pummel the door close lock buttons. Inside, pants around the ankles the whole time, white bottom flashing. At a merciless pace, the door opened fully, contemplated its life and then closed on the pitiful image within. The button pusher and I looked at each other, said nothing and went back to our seats. That is a pretty design. Seems like the kind of thing that could happen a lot. I've seen this happen before. Poor guy got revealed like some prize on a game show. Used to be a bag boy at a grocery store. One day I was bagging an older man's groceries, and the cashier begins to talk him Cashier in a polite voice. Have you found everything you're looking for? Man, no response. Cashier in a frustrated but polite voice. Sir, have you found everything you're looking for? Man, no response. Cashier in a patronizing and shouting tone. Sir, have you found everything you're looking for? Man finally acknowledging the cashier. Hey, I'm deaf. The cashier apologized profusely and the old man looked at her in disgust. While I did the brave thing and left to bring shopping carts back into the store. Sleeping over my friend's house in 7th grade. I was trying to sleep on the floor. However, his parents decided to have very loud, while rattling sex. I laid there trying to fall asleep for about 15 minutes when a loud shriek hinted that it was over. I kinda laughed a little and my friend, who I thought was sleeping, just says I am so sorry. We awkwardly laughed about it and then went to bed. Watching pallbearers lose control of a coffin they were carrying down a steep set of granite church steps after the funeral was over. An ice sleet storm took place during the funeral service, so the steps were slick. Several pallbearers went down as the coffin landed on the granite steps and slid the rest of the way down to the sidewalk below. Fortunately, the lid didn't open, but we all felt badly for them as the look in their faces showed they were mortified. My ex coming out for dinner with my parents and I knowing he wouldn't have to pay and always ordering the most expensive thing on the menu. One time in particular, we all ordered pasta dishes that were about 10 pounds each and some tap water for the table, and he ordered a 30-pound steak with sides and a beer. Never felt more embarrassed in my life. Had a lecturer who absolutely hated anyone being on their phone, and at one lecture there was complete silence as someone's phone started ringing and their ringtone was Peter Griffin singing, "I've got a finger stuck in my bum." My mom and I were at a cell phone kiosk in the mall. My mom decided, while talking to the sales guy, to rip a fart. It was silent but stunk like rotten eggs. The guy behind the kiosk tried to keep a straight face while talking and slowly backing away from my mom. I was mortified and gagging, and my mom said thanks and walked away like nothing. Thanks for watching. Share your stories in the comments.